Welcome back. If you're joining us, indeed you are watching Channel 1 News Hour, and of course now we're focusing on matters that touch on the environment. And joining me in studio now is the Business Development Director at the National Environment Trust Fund, that is Phyllis Ombonyo, who will be giving us a little bit more about the organization. Thank you so much for coming through.
And thanks for having me, Catherine.
All right, let's just start off with, you are one of the institutions that arose from the fact that we have the establishment of the existing Act, National Management and Coordination Act. What exactly is it that you do?
Allow me to just take us a little bit back. The Environment Management and Coordination Act of 1999 recognized that there were about 77 distributed pieces, and so there was need to bring some form of coherence in as far as environmental management is concerned. So NETFUND is among the 5 institutions that were established, and what we do is to ensure that we are conserving the environment in a friendly way. One of our sister organizations is actually the National Environment Management Authority, and they are known for enforcing, looking at things from the legal aspect, but we are sort of the friendly body that tries to do things through a self-regulation approach, because we appreciate that it may not be possible to actually enforce the law among the 40 million plus Kenyans. Yeah.
In terms of awareness, you know, we hear a lot about NEMA and what they do. I mean, nobody seems to know, exactly what you do as a trust fund. What exactly is your mandate?
All right. So what we do as NETFUND is to mobilize, manage, and avail resources for environmental conservation. Our vision is to ensure that sufficient resources are always available to ensure that Kenya is a clean, healthy, and productive environment. So how we do that is through 4 different ways. We do capacity building of individuals as well as institutions. We do scholarship and grants. We also do environmental awards, and that is the one thing that we are well known for, and particularly the Green Innovation Awards, which is an annual program of rewarding some of our great innovators in Kenya. So that's just part of what we do. And maybe lastly, the other thing we do is research and publications, where we continuously quest for information on environmental management and ensure that that is availed to Kenyans, so that we can have as many Kenyans as possible engaged in environmental conservation.
In your view, do you think Kenyans are aware of what you do and your presence on the ground? Based on what you have been trying to just talk to people and understand if they know about you and what you do?
What I must say is that the situation is improving, but as a country, I don't think we are quite there yet. Let me give from our experience as NETFUND. We have been running this award for the last 3 years. And over time, we have seen that there has been an increased number of people who are showing interest to participate. Like currently, we are just doing phase 2 of the award, and we managed to attract over 1,700 applications from every corner of the country. Every county actually participated in this. So we feel that increasingly more and more Kenyans are actually getting involved. But as a country, looking at the forest cover, which is only 3%, far from what we have desired, which is 10%, then clearly there is so much more that needs to be done.
All right. Of course, we always talk about people here, the term capacity building. Most of the times, people are always wondering, when we talk about capacity building, what exactly are we talking about? Of course, you also mentioned the issue about the awards, which you'll be telling us in just a bit. But capacity building, what does it involve?
When it comes to capacity building, we normally look at 3 aspects. We look at the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of the people. So whichever activity we engage ourselves in that seeks to improve these aspects, then you know that you are strengthening the capacity of individuals. It could also mean that you're improving the organization's ability to perform their mandate. So I'll give you an example. We did a project in Narok County where we were working with women who initially used to engage themselves in charcoal selling, and we were able to enable them to start embarking on environmental friendly livelihoods. For example, beekeeping and honey processing, aloe vera planting. So we managed to build a capacity to now start engaging in more environmental friendly livelihoods.
Yeah, the awards that you're coming up with, have you seen more people now becoming interested in environmental issues? Are people now coming up and investing in the conservation of the environment?
Yes, we have seen that increasing over time, and that this is evident given the fact that previously we attracted only just a few tens of people, maybe a few hundreds, but most recently we managed to attract over 1,700, as I earlier mentioned. So we feel that more and more Kenyans are interested in it, given the number of people who are actually applying to participate in this award. Yeah.
What are some of the challenges, that you go through, particularly in terms of mobilizing resources and, getting people to really understand?
Thank you, Catherine, for that question. Actually, the minute you say that we are a semi-autonomous government agency, the assumption is that we've got all the money that's required, but that's actually far from the truth. Just like every other organization, we are expected to compete at par. So we engage ourselves in proposal writing, we have to do a lot of searching, and so it's not delivered on a silver platter as the impression has been created out there. So I think that's one of the challenges that we experience. And then we all know that the need is quite huge in the country. Yeah? There are so many environmental initiatives that we would wish to engage ourselves in, but we haven't got sufficient resources to actually ensure that happens. So I think those are our two main challenges as NETFUND.
Are people investing, in environment, given that even governments are being defeated to put enough resources to try and, address most of the environmental issues, particularly in, with the advent of climate change?
Yeah, most recently, I think that has been a challenge before, that there hadn't been very clear incentives for environmental conservation. And I'm happy to say that that's one of the things that we seek to achieve through our Green Innovation Awards. In this program, we recognize the nexus between environmental conservation and poverty alleviation. So we seek to support those initiatives that not only seek to conserve the environment, but show a commercial significance. I'll give you an example. We have people who, for example, are engaged in making briquettes, and that's so that we can reduce on the number of trees that are being cut. So they use waste materials such as leaves and other produce to make the briquettes and sell that. So the minute they're able to see that they can actually generate income from conserving the environment, the more they're likely to be more involved in that. Yeah.
Behavior change, is it really changing? Because I think that is what you're more or less, talking about. Yeah. But there's always the general feeling that as much as I'm telling you not to cut down trees, and yet I'm down there in the village, I cannot afford, the gas, I cannot afford to put up a solar panel and things like that, you'll be sort of like you're hitting your heads against the stone.
That's very true. Actually, behavior change is a very complex subject, as you well know. It takes years for people to change their cultures and their way of working. And that's how come we actually have the Green Innovation Awards. And I'll give you an example. The minute you create incentives for people to start thinking differently, the more you are able to actually see things happening. We have this gentleman called Magiro, who has actually been able to generate electricity using bicycle parts and a very small waterfall in the village. So yes, we may say that it is expensive to put solar panels, but I think if we create incentives where people are actually are able to be motivated to engage in these initiatives, the more they're likely to find solutions that work for them. Yeah.
Right, the Green Innovation Awards, you've talked a lot about it. Tell us a little bit about probably the criteria in which you use to determine who is actually eligible and what are their chances of winning.
Okay, so the criteria we use, and first of all, let me mention that it's a highly competitive process, and we go through a very competitive process of identifying the judges who participate in the selection process. So one of the things that we look at is relevance. How relevant is this innovation? The other thing we look at is replicability. Is it possible to take that technology, say in Mombasa County, and go replicate it in Kakamega? So that means that it will definitely have a huge impact to the environment. The other thing that we try to look at is the commercial significance aspect, because we feel that the more we can see that, the more sustainable that initiative is likely to be. So those are some of the things that we look at when we are evaluating the Green Innovation Awards. Yeah.
All right. In terms of research, what is it that you do as the trust fund?
We do different things. Like I mentioned, our objective is to ensure that we are continuously sourcing for information and ensuring that this information is available to the public in a friendly manner. Currently, one of the projects that we are doing has to do with the effects, e-waste effects on the Nairobi River, right from the source to the mouth. And what we are trying to do is to evaluate the electronic effects in the river, and those are huge. So we want to demonstrate that there is a problem, and having done that research, the information that is obtained from it will greatly help to inform the policies that our legislatures need to be forming. So that's just one of the things that we do as NETFUND.
All right, when we were starting the show, you talked about seven different pieces of legislation that you were sort of, meant to look at and try and bring some sort of coherence. Tell us about that.
There were actually 77 different scattered pieces of legislature looking at different things. We look at the issues to do with policy, there are issues to do with enforcement, there are issues to do with public complaints, how do you handle that at the community level. The issues to do with the tribunal that actually sits and tries to sort of do some form of mediation. So we had so many scattered pieces, but what MCA has done is to try and consolidate and then identify 5 organizations who can actually run with the different consolidated pieces.
Yeah, but even after you have done that, in terms of duplication, there has always been the perception, the feeling out there that there are very many different organizations that are trying to deal with environmental issues. How are you able to also sort of try and check, even when you're doing the sort of capacity building and research, to try and ensure that we do not have overlapping of environmental management? That way you can be able to tackle many things at the same time.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Actually, what we do as NETFUND is we do not work in isolation. We ensure that we work with partners. And so we have partners right from the grassroots. We have partners from international institutions, non-governmental organizations, and other government agencies. And we do convene every now and then to take stock of progress and see who is doing what, so that we don't have duplication of effort, but rather we try to build up on each other's achievement, and at the same time trying to see what synergies can be derived from that. So I think the partnership aspect is what has really helped us to minimize on the duplication of effort. Yep.
6 years down the line since you established, what can you say you have been able to achieve?
We have achieved a lot, especially in as far as our Green Innovation Awards is concerned. And allow me to just give you a story briefly of one of the persons who submitted. We had what we call the prestigious Green Award in 2012. During this award, someone known as Eric Mudhomi he was about 26 years of age at that time. He happened to have been the winner, and Eric got $1 million shillings. And so what he did, he went and established a company called Stawi Foods. And what that company does is it goes around looking for the bananas and tries to do value addition to that banana plant, creating flour out of it and selling, and therefore creating markets. So most of the people who actually supply the produce happen to be women who previously used to be taken advantage of by middlemen, and sometimes they would even incur losses because of wastage. And so Eric has been able to employ 50 people directly and hundreds of people indirectly. And in addition to that, he was actually listed on the Forbes magazine as being one of the top 30 under 30 people in Africa to watch. So when we see such kinds of stories, it really motivates us to keep doing the good work that we're doing.
And of course, you are likely to say the good work because you're part of the organization. But still, having said that, what are some of the things that, in as much as you're trying to get the public to appreciate what you're doing, and particularly the fact that we need to conserve our environment, what are still the loopholes that we need to seal as a country to talk about a better environment?
I think we need to ensure that several things are put in place. First of all, private sector involvement is key, especially in as far as sustainability is concerned. So I think it's important that the private sector is involved in some of these environmental conservation initiatives. But at the same time, I feel like we need to do a little bit more about public awareness. for people to see not just the immediate benefits, but to realize that conserving the environment is safeguarding our future generation. So I feel that if those two aspects are done very well, then we will actually get somewhere as a country, involving the private sector, number one, and number two, ensuring that people work towards changing their attitudes so as they think about future generations and come out of this short-term kind of thinking.
Yeah. Going forward, you know, what do you see happening in terms of Kenyans conserving the environment and particularly beginning to appreciate behavior change, particularly to be able to see a better environment?
I must say that we are moving in the right direction as a country. First of all, we must appreciate that Kenyans are very innovative. They're constantly seeking for new ways of doing things. And in as much as we are able to incentivize them and encourage them, I think we will get there. Like one of the things that we seek to do as NETFUND is once these innovations have been identified and awarded, we do not stop at that. We actually link them up with incubation centers where these ventures are actually nurtured to become full companies. So the more we are able to support such kinds of initiatives, the more we'll be driving ourselves toward the green economy that we desire as a country. Yeah.
Phyllis, your last words as we wind up.
Thank you very much for having me. I would wish to just call upon the Kenyans who are watching me by television to join efforts. I believe that wherever you are, there's the baby steps you can take. Plant that tree in your homestead, but at the same time, I would wish to call upon the development partners that may be watching to join hands with us and get in touch so that we can battle some of the environmental challenges that are grappling this country. You may wish to get in touch with us through the email address info@netfund.go.ke. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Phyllis. Of course, remember, NETFUND is a semi-autonomous government body, one of the institutions that was set up following the establishment of the enactment, rather, of the Environment Management and Coordination Act way back in 1999. And of course, it was born in 2008. 6 years down the line, they have been able to achieve several issues, including matters of capacity building, research, and environmental awards, as well as publications, to get the information out there on why it is important for you to, of course, try and conserve our environment. Well, we have been talking to Phyllis Ombonyo, the Business Development Director at the National Environment Trust Fund. That was EcoWatch segment. Business news is coming up next. Doreen Apollos is on standby. Stay tuned. This is Channel 1 News Hour.